In this session we're going to look at installing Tight Vnc. This is a little different to SSH and will give us a graphical user interface into the Raspberry Pi, thus reducing the overheads of adding a keyboard, mouse and a monitor. To install Tight Vnc we actually need to sudo apt-get. We're going to install, and what we're looking at installing is actually the Tight VNC Server, and press enter. This will download the server and install the server with a Y. Now that the server is installed, we can actually start a session. To start a session we need to type in VNC Server, then a space and a colon, and then we can actually make sessions. So you can have multiple sessions or instances of the VNC server, which means multiple people could use one Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to create session number 1, and this is important because it's going to allow us to link into the computer. The other thing you need to know is you have to set a password for this, so it needs to be up to 8 characters, so try to keep it simple. Mine's just going to be L Marsden. Press enter. Verify L Marsden. This will give you better security, and then if you want a view password you can put yes or no. I'm just going to answer no to this question. So I've actually created a VNC server now with the session running. Before we go over to another computer and look at the VNC client to link in, we need some information from the Raspberry Pi. So you need to type in ifconfig to actually obtain the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. So at the moment I'm using a LAN based one, and therefore up the top here of the screen you'll actually see that the IP address of this Raspberry Pi is actually 192.168.0.100, and I'll need that to log in. So the things I need is that IP address, the session number which is 1, and also the password, which in my case was L Marsden. So now I can use that and set up the client on another machine, and I'll be doing that on a Mac. Now we'll be downloading the client from Realvnc. So once you've logged in to realvnc.com, there are several different versions you can download. There's the Mac OS, the Windows and also the Linux versions, and there's also a Raspberry Pi version as well. But we're going to be mainly concerned with the Mac version because I'm using a Mac at the moment. So the first thing you need to do is head across and download this, and also fill out the little bits of information here. They do require your name and your email address, that's a must, and then you can submit that for the download. Now once you've submitted that, you can then accept the user agreement and click on download, and that will start downloading the file. Now the file's not very large, it's only about 2.7 meg, so it doesn't take very long to download. Once you've done that, you can then open it, and if you're on a PC, once again run that, and you'll see that it will open up a client. And what we need to do on a Mac is actually place that into our applications folder. So I'll just double click this at the moment, and I'm just going to click on open, and that will now open up our session. Now I've used this before, and you can actually notice in here it's actually got 192.168.0.100, and then it's got the number after it, which is 01. Now you remember from our previous discussion we needed the IP address of the Raspberry Pi, which is the 192.168.0.100, also the session number from the VNC server, which is 1. Once you've done that, you can then click on connect. It gives you a warning message because it's an unencrypted connection, so just click on continue in the bottom right hand corner. It will then ask you for the password. Now this is the password to the VNC server, so mine was L Marsden, and click OK. Now once you've done that, you'll see we now have a Start X screen. We have the same options that are on the Raspberry Pi. We can open up the console into the bash console. We can also access the file structure on the Raspberry Pi, and we also have the ability to surf the internet as well on the Raspberry Pi. We can also set up the Wi-Fi network if needed. So we can click on the top right hand corner here and we can actually join the Wi-Fi network as well. So we have full access and control over the Raspberry Pi using VNC, not requiring another keyboard, mouse and monitor. So all we need to do is plug it into a PowerPoint and also into the switch, and away we go. To close the session, all you need to do is just exit out the window and you're done.